Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
So many people were so harmed, including my next guest, Annette Kuehne, Annette Kuehne, wife of Christopher Kuehne. Now, I'm fascinated by Christopher, all right? He's a former Marine, never committed a crime in his entire life. He was there on January 6th. He was briefly inside the Capitol. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't break anything. He just picked up some trash. And sometime later, the FBI SWAT team showed up at his house and terrorized the neighborhood and the family. And there was a little baby and a baby on the way. And there was Annette Kuehne watching the SWAT team with a tank on her front lawn storm her home. Her husband ultimately went to jail for 4 months, 3 months? You don't do that to a guy who's guilty of something potentially that'll send him to jail for 3 or 4 months. You do that to a serial killer, maybe. But they didn't do it to a serial killer. Anyway, I've gotten to know the Kuehnes a little bit, and they're great people. Annette Kuehne, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Greg. It's been definitely a very stressful ordeal to actually see my husband get arrested and have my son. It was, to add to the video, it was 12 degrees in Kansas on that morning. So it's below freezing, and we were standing out there. It's been a completely stressful situation. Like I said, I don't even know. I guess what I could say to you is that I've always tried to help my husband because he's a combat veteran and he was injured in Iraq. And I've always tried to understand the psychological aspects of what he's dealing with. And I didn't realize it. And I've learned a lot about it and combat psychology. And it took me some time, but I realized some of the things that he experienced, I was experiencing with regards to the PTSD and auditory exclusion, just the psychological, emotional, and physiological stresses that we were experiencing. And so that's been very, I always try to want to help him and even work with military and law enforcement. But this has really devastated me.
I can understand. So I want to actually, I've shown this video a bunch on video. I've shown it on the show, and we've talked about it here. The SWAT team arrives at your regular, beautiful home, right? It's a home. It's not, and you don't live out in the woods. You live in a neighborhood. It's early in the morning, and SWAT team. Okay, I know from SWAT. I know what cops look like. These guys look like Ninja Mutant Turtles. They got the camis, they got the this. It's like a blend of law enforcement and military. They're just, and I think 11 guys. It was 11 or 12 guys, one after the next, and they're running into your house, and you're there standing watching them with the baby, and there's one guy kind of next to you, one of their guys, one of the FBI. What did you think was happening? Did you know what was going on? Was it immediately apparently, okay, these are the cops, this is the FBI, and they're here to arrest my husband? Or was there a big question mark? Because I would not have known what the hell was going on myself.
So imagine we had a storm door, so it's like a clear glass door. So I opened up my front door, and we had the storm door there. And I just see this tank, and I realized the bright lights were right in my face. And then I noticed streams of red lasers. And I looked down, I'm seeing all these dots all over my chest. And I realized because I had my son and I put him down. I didn't realize he kind of walked up to the door with me. So when I looked at him, he had lights on him. And at that moment, I picked him up. I grabbed him and picked him up. And then my husband just walked out the door. And I heard screaming, yelling, "Chris Kuehne, turn around!" And he was walking, and at that moment, all the weapons got directed towards him. But there was police all over the neighbors' houses, behind their trees. one neighbor next door, which was an elder man, he ran out and he was like, "Get the F off my property," to the FBI. And he was saying, "Leave him alone. My husband, he's a good man." And, it was really like my neighbors kind of we were in a cul-de-sac, and everybody was pretty much helpful to me, like after the fact, when Chris was gone, and the media van was there and stuff like that. And then there was neighbors that didn't help, but I was in complete shock and terror, and I couldn't believe it. It's like imagining going to a range, a firing range, and and my son and my husband were the target. Like real threat, loss of life immediately, and one wrong move.
So let me ask you this: when those guys were running past you into the house, at that point they already had your husband in custody in handcuffs. They had already taken him in.
He was on the ground in the snow. They had him face down in the snow.
So they were like going in the house like to find bombs or whatever, right? That's what they were doing.
Yeah, they said, "Is there anybody in the house?" I said, "There's nobody. It's always been us." They could have known that if they did surveillance. That we don't have family there at all in Kansas. But
they ran in with their guns like drawn, as if there was some sort of like a nuclear bomb about to go off, or there was a hostage situation in your own house. That's the posture they had when they went in. That's what I saw.
Yes, and we were in what has been known as the fatal funnel. Or tunnel, or fatal tunnel, I think it is the correct term that some of the people in law enforcement have told me, that we should have never been in that position. If that was a threat, like a woman and child are standing right there in the middle of the front door. If something should happen, we're like already at a position of like we could have been severely injured. Well, yeah.
And you know what? The FBI. Dudes, you could have. It was so unnecessary because your husband was not a prior offender, had never committed the crime, and I understand like he had already interviewed with the FBI, and I think he already had a lawyer as well. Correct?
No, he did not. We did not know any of this was going to happen.
No. But he had talked to the FBI already, hadn't he?
No.
Or the cops or somebody?
No. This was just completely shocking. No, never.
No. There was. I mean, I thought he said that there was, like that there were some kind of interaction prior, like days prior or even weeks prior.
We found out later that they were surveilling our home before, but we never knew that was happening.
Well, now that we have $1.7 billion on the table, and the full. What you guys went through, you need to be compensated for that, and people need to be punished for what they did to you. And I hope you're taking the steps, and I know, it was probably a little bit of a confusing time, but you guys are worthy of a situation here, a settlement here, and I hope you pursue it.
Well, I also want to really quick add is that my husband's case directly involves one of the 26 FBI informants that walked into the Capitol. We know the name, and it's very hard because nobody wants to talk about it. But my husband's case has him. We know the name. He was there. The reason why my husband was arrested, the FBI informant never got charged or anything. And if you go to my X account, you can see all the pictures and posts that I've been posting on there, but nobody even wants to help me share this. But everybody wants to talk setup, frame, entrapment, but nobody wants to share what we have been trying to tell them.
So do me a favor. What is your X account?
It's at Wife of Combat Vet.
Wife,
and my husband's account.
Wife of Combat Vet.
Yes.
On X. One little thing on that. I know people get skittish sometimes about like, okay, the whistleblower for the Ukraine phone call was apparently a guy, the real original one, and there's all kinds of fake news about this, but may have been an employee of the CIA. And what they are trying to do is scare people into like, hey, if you identify this guy, even though everybody knows his name, I know the guy's name, but if you say it publicly, we could arrest you for outing a CIA person. That might be part of it. That might be part of it. Know what I mean?
Well, he's already been revealed, like by the Gateway Pundit, and also like he was in the Proud Boys trial, which during their trial they actually spoke of my husband who was unable to defend himself, which is in transcripts, which was insane that they would even bring up my husband's name in their trial and talk about him when he had no way of defending himself. So it's a lot more deeper and worse than even anybody has even given us a chance to speak about. And also FBI informant who was at our, or FBI whistleblower who was at our house, who's working back at the FBI, Garrett O'Boyle, he was even told that they were lied about my husband, that they told, the case manager told him, the FBI agents who raided our home, that my husband was illegally making weapons in our basement, which was absolutely false. My husband had his FFL license and CCW. A quick check in the NICS system would have totally confirmed that.
It's incredible. It's incredible what they did, but they're not going to get away with it. And the positions are, everything is there. And I think you're going to have justice big time. Your husband has already been pardoned. That was richly deserved, but he deserves more. And so do you. So do you. And
the weapons were never even, if my husband was building illegal weapons, they were not even taken from us. I had to, in order for him to get out of prison, I had to call the police department, and they had to pick him up and take him to the police department to hold them for us.
It's incredible. It's incredible what happened, that it could happen in America. And there will be a correction here. There will be a correction.
You so much. Thank you so much, Greg.
You bet, Annette. And again, if you want to follow her on X, at wife of combat vet, she is the wife of combat veteran, Marine veteran Christopher Kuehne. And you got to say, I've gotten to know him a little bit. He's a class act, and he's a really impressive man. And you guys are great together. How's that little boy of yours?
Growing. He's gone through a lot, right? I mean, the children, we don't even talk about it because he has the rest of his life to live. And I don't know how this is going to affect him. We've already seen some of the things, how, the children don't get talked about, but, it's a very traumatic and terrorizing experience for a child to go through.
Well, you guys stay strong. You are strong. And I think some great things are in store for you and your family. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You bet. Take care now.